row 2. I had a chance to visit a little bit during the performance. It was really special to see the number of folks up here. I think Amy said it's over 40 residents involved in the chorale, so that's really pretty special. So also great to see the red shirts and the festive feeling in the room. So great to see, and that may be contributing to how we have so many people in the room today. So thanks for sticking around, if you are sticking around after the chorale. David, would you mind opening us up with prayer this afternoon?
Always makes me a little nervous hearing about the red shirts. They were the anti-government party in Thailand. I didn't associate with the red shirts too much. Anyway. All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Lord, we are so grateful to you for your love for us and for times like this. Lord, just the sense of festivity that's in the air, the beauty of music and the beauty of decorations all around. And as we gather today, Lord, we come with grateful hearts, mindful of your abundant blessings. Among those are the people sitting around us in this very room, whether fellow residents or staff. If we've learned very little across our years of life, one lesson we all should have learned is that our lives are the richer for the people with whom we have formed bonds of friendship. So bring to mind those in this room and throughout our campus and even beyond who have made us better people. We thank you for them, each and every one. And may we in turn enrich the lives of those who know us. At this time of the year, the holiday season is quickly moving toward full swing as we anticipate the remaining weeks of Advent and the joyous celebrations of Christmas and Hanukkah. But celebrations are sweeter when done in the context of community, so we thank you for the gift of community, especially this one. For the blessing of fellowship and the love that surrounds us here, we are grateful. We ask for your presence to fill this meeting, guide our hearts and minds as we receive information, discuss matters important to Rolling Green life. And one of our greatest challenges, and today's been a prime example, is to stay on top of the schedule. There's so much going on, there's so many opportunities in which to participate. May each activity, every gathering, every moment shared bring us closer to one another, knowing that living well in an extended family like this brings us closer to you as well. So help us to remember that the true joy of the season is found not in the busyness, but in the love and the warmth that we share with family and friends. So now, as we continue in observance of these various holidays, we ask for your peace to reign in our hearts and our homes, for your light to shine brightly in all that we do. May the days ahead be filled with moments of laughter, times of reflection, and opportunities for service. Bless each resident here with joy, health, and contentment, and may our celebrations be a reminder of the love that unites us, and may your grace be upon each one of us, today and always. And it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Okay. Good afternoon. Let me catch my breath. How's everybody doing? Have y'all been enjoying all the festivities of the year? Well, we have a newly added activity to the schedule. I got an email yesterday from Nathan from the Saturday Serenade. The kids that y'all really love to hear that come on Saturdays that are taught by Laura Kaiser. They will be here this Saturday at 1 o'clock. So I got the email yesterday requesting to come. So they couldn't come at 10 because we do have another group coming at 10, some students playing the piano. So they will be here at 1. So we like to get a good crowd for them. The big bus is in the shop. The lift is not working properly, so we do have it in the shop. We're not sure if it's going to be back by this weekend. So I have chartered a bus for Sunday for the Greenville Theater because I wanted to make sure that everyone who had purchased tickets could go. So we have chartered a bus. It holds 40 people. And then they'll come and pick you up. They'll leave. I think they'll be here at 1:30. You'll leave at 2 o'clock as normal, and they'll drop you off at Greenville Theater and wait for you and pick you up. Okay. Now, the Foothills Philharmonic on Saturday night. We're probably going to have to do some carpool. All we have is the small bus right now. So if anybody can carpool, that would be great. But we will take the small bus to the Foothills Philharmonic. but because that's a free event, and they didn't have a bus available because there's so much stuff going on this weekend. Anyway, I was really happy that I got one for Sunday. The big bus should be back by Monday. Next Friday is the ladies' luncheon. If anyone was here before COVID, we used to have the ladies' luncheon. I think we did it once a month, maybe. But then COVID shut that down, and we have not done it since then. We have had the ladies' breakfast, but we have had requests for ladies' luncheon. I think we're going to try to do it maybe every quarter to begin with, so this will be our first one. I think we have 60 people signed up for it so far. And I think we had to cap it because that dining room will only hold so many people. But we will have some music for that, so that's exciting. So that'll be on Friday the 20th. And then Alma Stedding, everyone know Alma, she turns 100 on Friday the 20th. And so we will have a drop-in for her. Just come by and celebrate her 100th birthday. And that'll be at 2 o'clock in the Piano Lounge and Bistro. And then on that same day, on December 20th, we have our Christmas dinner and dancing. We have an instrumental band that will be here called Adagio 345. They've been here before. Residents really enjoy them. So our dinner is going to start at 5. I think I had it at 4:30 in the portal, but we had to push it back a little bit because the band, the members work, and so they're not sure if they could be here by 5:30. So they'll be here from 6 to 8. So we'll eat from 5 to 6. If you get there a little earlier, I mean, everybody gets there early anyway. And so I think Rich said he was going to try to have the buffet ready between 4:30 and 5, and then the band will play from 6 to 8. So I will have the band. Were y'all there last year for our Christmas dinner and a show when Broadway and Beyond played, and we had them set up right behind the hostess stand? We'll do that again. So no matter where you sit in there, you'll be able to see the band and you can hear the music, and you're able to dance if you would like. I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, how do you do it?
One day, 1 minute at a time, I think that's how. Yes.
Amy, where will the bus be parked on Sunday?
So we'll have to do it probably from the Commons, just because I don't know that they're going to know how to go. I'll probably be there just to make sure that the driver knows where to go. And that everybody gets on okay. I'm not going to go with you, but I will be there to make sure that the driver gets here and is where he needs to be, and that everybody gets on the bus. Does anybody have any more questions? All right, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The week of December 10th, 2024 was the week, okay? We, interestingly enough, started a little bit last week, but mostly this week, with making the pickleball courts happen. And the construction trailers arrived with all of their equipment, and they've been out there grading and working and rolling, and I don't know if the asphalt's been poured yet or not, but it's going to be happening very soon. Then something else happened this week, and that was the chapel kickoff. We had great attendance, we had great information given out, and we had great hot cocoa. And I thank Amy's staff for the cocoa. Amy can stir 2 pots of cocoa at one time. She's very talented with that. So I hope you all got to come. We had close to 100 people that attended. We gave out booklets for the chapel, and we have some booklets in the basket on the piano if you didn't get one. We also gave out magnets, and we brought some magnets over there, so make sure you get one of those. You can also go to the portal under the chapel icon, and you can review the PowerPoint that was presented yesterday at the kickoff. And we had some candid shots of those that attended, and one of the neat things yesterday to me was Amy and I were talking about it, and she suggested that Mr. Hartness here knew someone who played the harp. And we called, and the girl was available, and I think she did an excellent job yesterday setting the tone for what the chapel is going to be designed to be like. Now, the big announcement for today is if you're planning to donate to Rolling Green Village to receive any tax credit for 2024, your check has to be dated by what? December 31st. Very good. Okay. Any questions?
How y'all doing today?
All right.
Good. I wanted to update you on the final quarter of the year. We've had a lot of things that have been going on, and I just thought I would just highlight some of the festivities that we've had through food and beverage. In October, of course, the big deal was our Halloween event. Amy and her team set it up, and of course we supplied food, and it was a very, very great event. We served over 200 people, so I thought that was great. Another neat thing about as far as October, it just so happened to be the first time we've ever served over 25,000 meals in a month, and that's a lot. And so it's a testimony, I think, that we have good food, but y'all appreciate that, and you're bringing yourselves and your friends, and thank you. In November, a couple things that have happened. We started our winter menu, and that's going along well. We also had, for our skilled side, we had a Thanksgiving dinner for them, so Thursday before Thanksgiving, and then of course we invited all the independent living folks on Thanksgiving for our buffet, and that again was another very successful event. And a neat thing, it just goes along with the amount of meals we served. We sold 38,000 of the meal cards in November, which is by far the most we've ever sold, and then we've sold already, I think, about 18,000 in December. So I've been told, well, that's because of the holidays. Well, I agree, but we could look at last year, and I'm just telling you, it's just a lot more. So that's pretty exciting. As we move into December, the funny thing is I was going to talk about the Christmas dinner, but I've got a line through it. But what I will tell you, though, a nice thing about that, we'll be having heavy hors d'oeuvres. We're going to feature our roasted tenderloin, which generally is a very nice thing, along with a variety of other entree and then other finger food items. But we'll have a variety of seafood and chicken options as well. Rich is still working on the menu, but it'll be very nice, as it always is. And then also in December, of course, we'll have our Christmas Day buffet, and the reservations will be accepted starting tomorrow. And that'll be a very busy event, but we're looking very forward to that. So again, a lot of things have gone in and have been going on in the fourth quarter, and they'll continue. I also wanted to shift gears and talk a little bit about something that we do when we have our Christmas party for our staff. That'll be tomorrow. And what we generally do is go over their years of service awards, just based on 5-year increments. And I have a list of my staff that are actually in there on the 5-year increments. I just wanted to run through that list because it's pretty neat to see. We've got quite a few people that have been doing this for a long time. And so I'm going to just run through this real quickly. One of them on her 5 years is Renee Rizitek. She generally works in the morning and runs food during lunch. Juan Francisco is one of our utility staff dishwashers. He's been here for 5 years. Quentin Owens, he's a senior sous chef. He generally works in the EP kitchen, but he's been over here the last few days. He's been here for 10 years. Ryan Hill is one of our assistant kitchen managers. He's got his 15-year anniversary. Deb Connor, she's a server in the license area. She used to help out over in this dining room back in the day. She's been here for 15 years. Louise Cave spent a lot of time over in this kitchen here in the prep area down there, but she's been over in the EP kitchen for the last 4 years, but she's actually transitioned over to the Commons kitchen, and she's been here for just 25 years. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. This next one's pretty impressive too. Sylvester Kennebrew, server. He was actually hired in housekeeping. I brought him over to the food and beverage staff about 4 years ago, and he's been here just 35 years. That's pretty impressive. But I felt like we have some other folks that have been here quite a while that aren't on that 5-year increment, but I thought I'd run through a couple of those folks. Again, some of these names you will recognize, some you won't, because they spend more of their time on the license side. But Gabe Wilson, another utility employee, has been with us for 12 years. And then Claudel Wilson, not his brother, but he's been here 7 years. He actually was in high school, then college, graduated, he's got another job. He works here 3 days a week. 2 of them are at dinner over at our Commons kitchen to help out over there. So it's been very helpful over the years. Michelle Martin, a cook, she's only been with us for 24 years. Primarily over in the EP kitchen. Sam Hill, senior sous chef, she's over in the Commons kitchen. Elijah Mosley, a lead cook in the EP kitchen. Regina Lamb, a server in the license side. Richie Wanek just passed his 16-year mark as my kitchen manager. Melissa Helzer is a dining room manager for the license side. She's been here for 9 years. I've been here for 16 and a half years. So it's a lot of folks. We've got about 40% of our staff's been here for at least 4.5 to 35 years. So it's pretty impressive. We've got a lot of good folks. I think this helps us do what we do, and I'm proud of what they do, and I feel that y'all tend to be pretty proud as well. So yay for that. You can hold it. I don't want to blush. Okay, and then lastly, again, it's been a very busy and exciting year, as Amy can attest to. And again, how she does it, I don't know. Sometimes people ask me, how do we do it? And we just do it. This is what we're paid to do, and we want to do it for y'all because it's important. I really feel that 2025 will be another outstanding year. There's going to be a lot of things going on, and I think it's really been a little over 2 years since we've been fully opened, and really it's been a little over a year since we've really just hit all cylinders, and so I think that's exciting. But again, there's much more to do, and I appreciate all of your comments over the many years, and that's it. Any questions?
Good afternoon. I'm going to provide a licensed area update, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some things in independent living that I want you to be aware of. So in the licensed area currently, we have 45 residents in the health center out of 48 beds, and 17 in rehab out of 22 beds. During this time of year, we do see a lot of different things, from pneumonia to flu to COVID to falls with fractures. So just be mindful of that. If you go out and you need additional support, just reach out to the clinic so Shannon can help to follow you if you have to go to the hospital for any reason. I just want people to be mindful of that. No one expects that to happen, but I want you to be somewhat prepared in case there's a change. In Cedars, we're at 26 out of 28 beds, and in Evergreen Place, we're at 18 out of 22 beds occupied. I want to talk a little bit about Medicare open enrollment. So as you all know, I've talked about in the past 2 months, open enrollment closed on December the 7th. If you changed your plan, I met with a few independent living residents. If you changed your plan for any reason, if you could give us a copy of your updated card when you receive that, you can take those down to the clinic, and they will scan it and then upload it into your electronic health record chart. Just so that way we know if you need therapy, if you need to use your Part B benefits for therapy, if you need a rehab stay under your Part A benefits. We just want to know what insurance you have ahead of time so we can plan accordingly. Any questions around Medicare open enrollment? Okay. And then COVID. I want to talk a little bit about COVID. So I know it is COVID and flu season. I think everyone is aware of that. We do really treat COVID now almost like the flu. There still is a quarantine period, and if you test positive for COVID, You just need to call the clinic and let them know that you're positive, so that way other departments can be made aware, and then you are also informed as to what you need to do as a resident. And if there's any changes, that way we can just monitor you while you are in quarantine. Currently, there are COVID cases on campus. There's not that many. There's only 4 total in independent living, and 2 of those are in patio homes, and 2 of those are in apartments. They are informed to, quarantine like they're supposed to, and that's the importance of calling the clinic, so that way we can continue to monitor not just COVID on campus, but also your health as to how you're dealing with that. All 4 of those residents are doing extremely well. No one has had to have a hospital visit, to my knowledge, due to a COVID case on campus, so we're extremely beneficial, or appreciative of that, and thankful. In the health center, if you will just be mindful when you're visiting residents, there are not just at Rolling Green, but an uptake of COVID cases in the outside community. It's just part of the everyday now. It's really nothing. We're not 2020. We're not 2021 when it was really scary to think about COVID. So if you just will be mindful when visiting residents, I don't want you to feel like you can't visit the health center. If you visit a resident, there are currently 2 positive residents in the health center. If you visit a resident and you see a sign on their door, you just need to check with their nurse to make sure that it's okay to visit them. There's a sign on their door. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have COVID. There could be other things that they have a sign on their door for, and you still can visit. They may have an infection that's not contagious. There's other things that they have signs on their doors for. We're just required to put those up. So just check in with their nurse if you're going to do a visit. There's a lot of visiting going on in the health center, so I just want you to be mindful of that. Any questions about COVID before I move on to the next thing?
We're against it.
I know. And the good thing is we had a lot of residents take a booster this year, which has not been the case in previous years. Currently in the health center, out of the 45 residents that we have 26 residents that got a booster. That's a lot. Usually we have around 5 to 10, depending. Most residents are on hospice. They don't feel like they need a booster. So to see that many is amazing. So good education when educating people on booster. And then the last thing I want to talk about is a really great thing. Ryan mentioned it last month, but the health center, specifically short-term rehab, received an award through U.S. News, the U.S. News World Report. So with that award, we were recognized for the 2nd year in a row as the best short-term rehab. And the way that comes about, so I always have people ask me this. So CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, review our MDSs, so minimum data sets. So when you come to rehab, you're getting care, and we're doing an assessment on you, and then sending that to Medicare, so that way Medicare will pay us, will receive funds based on the care that we're providing to the resident. So in that minimum data set, the MDS, it scores us on certain things. So the U.S. News World Report reviewed what we report to CMS, and based on those numbers, gave us the best short-term rehab award. So they evaluate eligible nursing homes and care for people in need of skilled nursing or rehabilitation services following hospitalization for surgeries, heart attacks, strokes, injury, or other conditions, which can range to pneumonia with sepsis, a fall with a fracture, different things along those lines. The data used to evaluate these facilities come from primarily from the federal CMS and include metrics, which we talked about, which could be return to hospitalization, discharge to home, your movement has improved from the time you've come in, stuff along those lines, and include metrics related to patients' outcomes, nursing staffing, facility deficiencies, and process of care, such as the appropriate use of some hypnotic medications. So when you come in, I know that we're providing care, but there's a lot of things that go on in the background, and we're judged on that, and we're paid based off how well we provide that care and how well you do as a resident. And Medicare can give additional money depending on how well we do with some of those metrics, and they can also take money from some facilities, depending on if they don't do well. And they'll just reach in and take it out of your account, which is always really fun to watch. But so that's kind of how the short-term rehab comes about. I was reviewing our specific metrics before coming in, and one of the main things is our nurse staffing. So our nurse staffing, so we are rated, we have to submit all of our hours for CNAs and nurses that we have in rehab to CMS every quarter. And with that, when we submit every quarter, we are given a nurse staffing ratio per resident day. So for Rolling Green Village, we have 6 hours and 2 minutes of nurse staffing hours per resident day, and that's split up between RNs, LPNs, and CNAs. And the average for the state of South Carolina is 3 hours and 53 minutes. And the national is 3 hours and 46 minutes. So when you come to rehab, it's very different compared to where you would go in the outside community. So be mindful of that when you come in. I do think it takes a team to do what we do, and I feel like we do it well, and there's always room for growth. But I just wanted to hint on to the staffing per ratio day. Any other questions in regards to this? Yes, sir.
The new cards, where do we take that and be copied?
You can take them to the clinic, and Jane or Marlene will scan them downstairs in the wellness center, and we'll upload them into your electronic health record. And they're very important. You would be surprised how many residents change their cards and we're not aware. So when you have to have Part B, we have to authorize for you to have Part B. You have to call your insurance, and sometimes that can take time, so we just don't want to create any delays. So, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Right, we've got 29 minutes. Let's see if we can stay on track and give you some opportunities to ask some questions. We're going to hold off, give Skip a few minutes. I wanted to comment about a few items, but really kind of highlight the work that the team is doing over in skilled nursing. To get that award 2 years in a row is pretty special. The work that they do, a lot of those metrics are driven by Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And as Anna Grace said, each year we have an opportunity to get a penalty if a certain number of people go back to the emergency room or go back to the hospital after we leave. But our team is doing a really great job of taking care of people and keeping them well. Ran into a staff member who came in to get a cup for employee appreciation, and she said she was working in the hospital, and she said it's not great there as far as staffing. I know a lot of the hospitals are struggling to get consistent staff, leaning on temporary staff, and she just, from a perspective of working in the hospital, she just talked about how she really needed some help, and they're being asked to do a lot more than folks would want. So we very much focus on having that right ratio of nurses to residents to make sure you get the best care, and I think that's shown for second year in a row. So it's pretty crazy. I think I've talked about before, the federal government, we send, as Anna Grace said, it's called payroll-based journal entry. We call it PBJ, like the sandwich. Every quarter we send all of the hours worked for every single person in rehab to the government, and they look at all those hours, and they've started to break out all the hours that we work to get to that number 6. And then the government has also started to track the number of weekend hours we have. So the government posts our weekend staffing hours. What other industry do you know that the government posts the hours that are worked in an organization? Like, I'm not aware of that, but that's the level, unfortunately, of regulation that we have, and we are exceeding those numbers. And we're doing a good job of getting more registered nurses in, because we also have a pending crazy regulation that would require us to have 24-hour registered nurses in the building. We would love to have that if there were enough registered nurses there in across the country. So I'll get off my soapbox, but I did want to just highlight the work that they're doing over there, because they're really doing some great things. Yeah.
I'll just give a testimony. 20 days over there, they got my knee in good shape.
Yeah.
Never had better care anywhere.
Well, thank you.
Just a great job.
Yeah, 20 days over there with rehab and getting you back on your feet. That's what we want to hear. Let me jump in with a couple of other quick things, and then I want to have Skip talk about, give an update on the pool. The bus that's broken, I think folks know we've purchased a second small bus, so that is in the works, and hopefully I think a February or March delivery. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that that actually does happen, February and March, because I know we've been there before. But we'll have 2 small buses, 2 functional buses that are gonna help us get people out and about. So I wanted to remind folks of that. I think we mentioned that last month. Wanted to make sure you're aware of some of the neat things that I thought were happening this week, as Judy talked about with the chapel. It was great to see the resident presence. It was great to see the board member presence. We had a handful of board members that came to be a part of that as well. The harpist was really pretty special. It was a really neat feeling when you came into this room and just had a chance to sit and listen and hear more and see more up on the screen about the work that the committee is doing and how close we are to getting it going. So I wanted to thank Judy for her work. It really did do well, and I do echo that Amy really can do 2 things at once. She did a great job. So also earlier that, I think it was the same day, we had the stained glass dedication, which was also last week we had a really special dedication, and a couple residents were involved in that, and they did a great job of honoring Mary Frances Hamby. The artwork, I think, is pretty stunning. It's one of a kind, you could say, and I think it was a really great touch by the family and a great opportunity for us to honor someone that lived in our community for a number of years. So we also had some board members that were here for that. The other thing that struck me was that the family was a part of that, and they flew down from Illinois and we're here for a couple of days to be a part of it. It's kind of an opportunity to honor their mom and to bring some closure for them. So that was really pretty special opportunity for us here last week. We do have the staff member Christmas party tomorrow, which is going to be a great opportunity to honor some of the folks that Bruce was talking about. Just amazing dedication and years of service. So we're looking forward to that. And we always appreciate the resident donations that provide a really special appreciation check for folks. So we're looking forward to that tomorrow. We're going to have some Buc-ee's barbecue. If we have some leftover, you might be able to swing through. We're also going to have a DJ for the first time, so that's going to be a little bit different. We're trying to listen to the staff and provide some different opportunities. So sweet tea, no spiked tea, just sweet tea, along with the Buc-ee's barbecue. But it's a really great opportunity. We've got door prizes and honoring folks for the years of service. It'll be from 1:30 to 3:30 tomorrow, just so you're aware in case you hear some loud music or maybe a lot of people that are having a good time. So last thing before I hand over to Skip talking about employees and the dedication, we facilitated an employee survey through Hollerin that was completed, I think it was back in, was it October? We just got the results and not able to share the full amount of results, but we will be doing that next month. But it was a really good score. We actually exceeded, so it was a good thing. We scored higher than the benchmark for Hollerin, which is a national third-party organization that facilitates the surveys. And we also scored higher than the Life Care Services benchmark, which is all the communities that are affiliated with Life Care Services. So we're really proud of the result. We'll share a little bit more with you next month. We've actually not shared it with the department heads yet. Just Anna Grace and I and Teresa were aware, but we're really proud of that, and just kind of shows the great people that we have here and the work that we're doing to provide a great work environment. So we'll share more with you next month. All right, now we're going to bring Skip up, but I wanted to make sure folks knew, in light of the discussion we had last month and a lot of the questions around the pool and the sensitivity around the pool, we put together a communication that was sent out this week to most folks in writing with this letter here. So we gave it to the apartment folks. We've also posted it to the portal. It'll be included in the highlights this week. We didn't feel like we wanted to have somebody from the patio homes come out to deliver this, so we're just going to put it with the highlights this week. But we definitely do recognize the sensitivity and the focus on getting the pool back and getting it operational. So I wanted to make sure folks knew we would be giving another written communication like this by Christmas Eve to give you a feel for where we're at and we'll continue to increase that communication in writing to keep everybody aware as we move forward to getting to the pool completed. So I asked Skip to come up and share a few pictures and talk about where we are today, which is continuing to move forward, and we're getting closer. Even though it doesn't look like that, we are definitely getting closer, and we're looking forward to getting it back on track. So I'm going to let Skip come up and talk for a little bit, and then I'll jump back up here.
Thanks, Ron. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Well, after last month, I tried to figure out what I needed to do to be prepared for y'all. So what I did was printed out the South Carolina DHEC regulations for pool, 6151. So it's 40-something pages. How long do I have, Ryan?
20 minutes.
How much?
20 minutes.
Okay, y'all need to listen up now. I got to go through 44 pages here. Make sure I answer all your questions. No, I'm just kidding. But I did come prepared, so if you ask, I could give you chapter and verse. But I want to thank y'all for your patience. It's been, we've had a lot going on. We faced some real challenges, but we had the right people in the right place, and we're able to persevere and push on through. So as of today, they were pouring concrete. If you look at the pictures, please, there we go. So that's the pool's empty, and then these are the two culverts that we had to deal with right here of the lights. And so what they had to do is come in the previous ones, you see where they cut the concrete out? They had to dig down below this light on the back, on the outside of the pool, on both ends. And then what we found is in order to back support that wall was full of concrete block. They poured concrete in to do that. Probably a little more than they needed to. But anyway, we had to remove all that. Then when they got it down, replaced the fixture, put in new conduit, and this is where the conduit's coming out here, and on the other end then rolls around the building and goes around to the other side so we can connect those. They do work. We tested them. And then we pressure tested this week to make sure all the piping and stuff that's in that concrete was good, so we've done that. And so they will be back. Let me look in here now. So got the concrete work done, and so they should finish that out hopefully this afternoon. And then it's going to have to cure for about 7 days. It generally takes about 24 days in all to do that. But if it cures enough, then they'll come back and put the base coat on the decking material, the first coat. And then after that's done, then they'll be back to start coating the deck. Now once they start coating the deck, they will immediately, probably the same day, start filling it full of water. And that's because it helps that deck, helps that plaster to cure, and does it to keep it from drying out, controls that. That's a critical step, and that's why once we get water in it, it'll stay that way for 30 days. While it stabilizes, they're monitoring the chemicals and stuff like that to do all that. So that's what we've got going on. And then once they get that done, we've got the second coat, but there is a little hiccup that we've got that I want to share with you. If you remember, when we finished that pool, how beautiful everything looked. The beams were all nice and varnished. The metal was covered. Everything was nice and clean. And then we come in here with jackhammers and proceeds to start jackhammering all the concrete out. And of course, where does all that concrete, just like when you dust at home? It floats all the way up. So what we've got to do between the step of get the concrete finished, letting that cure, and before they spray the plaster on the walls of the pool, we've got to clean all that up. Because we can't do it after the fact, because then that finish would fall down and ruin the finish. And it's the last thing we want to do. This was not something we had planned on, but it's something that we've got to do to make sure that when you walk in there, it looks as pristine as it did before we got into this problem. So We know that once we fill it up with water, we've got 30 days for that to cure. And then after that, we're probably looking somewhere around the first week or so of February. I'll go out and sort of stick my head out on the limb right now, but I feel fairly comfortable with that and what we've got going on. But I do want you to please understand that the team of experts that we have brought in to do this, whether it's constructions, whether it was the engineers, the inspectors, have done an outstanding job. We had to make decisions on the fly, but they were the right group of people to do that. We got together, figured out what we were up against, and then came up with an agreed-upon decision to keep going forward. So I appreciate your patience and only apologize, but again, it's not something we could anticipate. So that being said, that's all I've got on that.
Anybody have any questions for Skip or us
Or Ryan.
as we move forward?
What happened with the lighting?
The lighting.
The lighting, they never could exactly find the problem, but what we had to do is we ripped out all the conduit and then pulled the light fixtures out, because that's why we had to jackhammer down to get the back open so we could run all new conduit. If you look on the outside of the building, you'll see 1.5 inch conduit that comes out and goes around the perimeter underneath those windows. And that's all the new conduit. So that's what we brought that in. But what we did is we put it on the outside and we oversized it. So that will not be a problem that we'll be up against again. That's been resolved.
So some type of damage to the conduit that was underground at some point in time, and that's why we had to go down, dig it out, and then replace that and rewire that. Any other questions?
Got any questions about anything?
Well, let's move forward. What do you have? Yes.
I'm just checking the lighting before you fall.
Thank you.
Outside in the A building, there is an exit that goes into the garden, right?
The A building in the Village Green courtyard.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. We asked about the lighting once before was out. I noticed it yesterday. I was surprised that anybody trying to come in there at night it'd be almost impossible. It's out again, so I don't know whether it's a electrical problem or whether it's what? Your problem.
This is true. Now, are the ones on E building that we added those to, are those still working? Because those should be independent of everything. Yeah, there's 2 on each end of E building.
I don't know, maybe somebody else over there can say.
No, part of the challenge we have, and Brian and I, we've talked to that with the Village Green Committee, is when we get it and redo that lighting, we've got to take all the underground electrical up in the Village Green courtyard.
Would that be underground?
All underground. It comes out of the middle of A building and then goes across and hits C, D, and on the back side of B. So we're not ready to get into that project yet. And the other thing we're trying to tie that in with, as we continue to work with the Village Green courtyard on amenities and upgrades and things, I think there's been some discussions about possible building and picnic shelters and some interest points and things like that. That's all part of it. And also upgrading the sidewalk. But all that's interrelated, because that can't be done until you start pulling all that stuff up. But yes.
We can look and make sure that there's not a bulb that's out, and if we need to, we can look at another temporary light like we did for E.
It's really dark.
Okay.
In that corner.
We'll definitely look into it. Okay. Thank you, Sue. Any other questions around the pool? I want to make sure I keep going. I got 10 minutes to run through a lot, so but we'll definitely have a few opportunities for questions. So thank you, Skip.
Thank y'all.
Want to make sure remind you all of the pickleball courts that's going to be placed out back, as you see, and make sure folks know we do have a bocce ball court that's slated. It's in this space right here. So there'll be 2 pickleball courts and a bocce ball court in that space. Got some good feedback this week about putting some type of a stand for when you're rolling the bocce ball, so people don't fall over. So we did share that with the folks from Clancy, the project manager, and we'll be looking into that and how we might be able to add that. It's a good time, and it's a pretty simple change. If you go to the next slide. Clancy and Phase is our project manager. This is the team that's going to be helping us with Phase 2. So this is a great opportunity for them to get introduced to the campus and for us to see how well they do. So they are going to be sending me a weekly report with just an update of what's been going on over the last week. So a gentleman by the name of Matthew Prater and Brandon Scott are part of the Clancy team. They were here this week for a page turn for Phase 2. But just to give you a feel for what they're going to be sending to us, there's not a lot they can do this week with the rain. But we're off to a good start. We'll go to the next one.
How high is the fencing around the pickleball?
I think there's a couple different sizes of fencing. I can't see it here. I can't see it. I have to get back to you on that. You want to go to the next one? So I want to give an update on improvements, things that we've been talking about. And I think folks are aware it's the same slide. I just keep providing some updates to make sure you all know that we're not forgetting about stuff. So the Lakeside Sidewalk, we have gotten a second quote from Strange Brothers, reached out to the Lakeside Board, and we'd like to visit with them in January to talk about what we've learned and talk further about some of the options we have and recommendations. So we'll be doing that in January. We want to visit with the board first. To include the engineers we've been working with. So that's getting closer. The Landscape Architecture Partnership, next week we'll have folks here from Clemson that will present some of the ideas that they have from the graduate students. So we're looking forward to that on the 17th. The lobby furniture, no new update there. On the Village Green Courtyard, I do have an update. As Skip was talking about with the lighting, we'd like to do all that together with the lighting that Sue was talking about, and then also the new structure. One of the holding issues has been working with Batson Architects. They've been helping us out with the chapel. We need them to convert the landscape architecture renderings into actual architecture documents that can be handed to a contractor. So that's where we're at, but we do have an agreement signed with Earth Design and Holly Owings, who is here this week as well. For the chapel open house, she is going to be continuing to put a little more pressure on Batson to get us those drawings and get that completed. So that'll continue to be a priority as we move into 2025 of redoing that Village Green Courtyard and adding a structure that folks can enjoy in that space. But that does move forward. And on the Hoke Smith sidewalk, we did have Strange Brothers come out to look at the Lakeside sidewalk. We also asked for them to look into the Hoke Smith sidewalk. And they feel that they can help us out with that before we have Duke change the power line. So we're going to visit with them again, but that would also be a priority in 2025 to redo the initial drive for Hoke Smith and fix the sidewalk that's unlevel and get rid of some of the bumps in the road where the trees are on Hoke Smith. So. Next slide here, Phase 2, just an update. We're up to 64 sales deposits. The total number we need to get to is 90, so we still do have some really good momentum. Behind the scenes, there still is a lot of work that's being done between the architecture team and construction. We had them here this week. Actually, it was yesterday for the full day. The team between Life Care Services Development and SFCS Architects, Interiors, and also Clancy and Phase to talk through the plans and do one other look over of the plans. So we are planning to introduce you all to the team from Clancy and Phase in January to have another resident town hall. So keep them with those quarterly town halls. We'll have the folks from Clancy here in January. Finalizing the date is probably going to be that third week of January. You'll get a chance to hear from them and get an opportunity to get to know them a little bit better. Right, financials. We had a really good month in November, so we're grateful to share those results with you. The great results come back to occupancy. So we had 96% overall occupancy. That's 96% of all of the homes or apartments that we have were occupied in the month of November. So that exceeded the amount that we had planned for. when we have openings, we have a list of folks that are looking to backfill those openings. You know, why we have some openings now, it does take some time. Every time an apartment comes open or a home comes open, we go in, and from floor to ceiling, we make sure that that unit is ready, or that apartment home is ready to move in. So some of those turns take a little bit more time, but those are currently happening. We have 5 units, 5 apartments that are going to be moved in between December and January. So 3 in December and 2 more in January. We do have a number of the smaller units that we're in the process of cleaning and turning over, but overall occupancy is really solid, as Anna Grace talked as well. Occupancy within the licensed areas, assisted living, memory care, health care, is also really strong. So we did well as far as the operating revenues. On the expense side, we also did pretty well. We had a couple of areas that we were slightly over, continuing to look at refurb, some of the expenses. We do continue to use healthcare agency staff, even though we have more of our staff, and we're making strides there. We do have marketing phase 2 expenses that are in that number as well, which again, the dollars are there, but we have to count for that in this year. We've fixed that moving forward in 2025. But overall, it was a pretty good month. So we exceeded the goal for net operating income, revenues minus expenses, by about $111,000. All right. I did have one thing I wanted to share. I had a resident who brought a note up to the front desk, and they wanted us to know that they've lived here only for a short period of time, but they really do appreciate all the employees who've come in, they've come in contact with, and they feel they made a perfect decision to live at Rolling Green Village. So it was a nice little note that Lindsay shared with me that they brought up to the front desk. So just wanted to share that at this time of year. I've finished in 6 minutes, so I've got some opportunities for some questions. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Ryan?
Dr. P, yes.
Preceding.
Bring the mic over to you.
Thank you. I'll comment first. As you all know, some of you know, that I'm a retired obstetrician gynecologist. And in that time of about 50 years, delivered thousands of babies. And the feeling of handling God's creation for the first time by anybody is tremendous. And we are all aware of God's creations. The sun, its energy, the trees, the birds, the nest for birds, the shade from the trees. I'd like to know whose idea and what reason for raping those crepe myrtles back there and cutting them down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes. So we did take 3 crepe myrtles out this week in the is it the D4? Skip is pointing out 4 crepe myrtles. We're going to be planting something different there. The crepe myrtles are a little bit close to the apartments, so they kind of they're growing into folks' patios, and they are, at times, they can be messy. So we felt that instead of cutting them back, this was our opportunity to go ahead and remove them, and we will be replanting something else. But the proximity to the structure, them growing into some folks that have patios and us needing to pull them back, we just felt like we should be putting something else in there. So that's why we had taken them out. So we will be planting something else that's not as messy and is not as close to the structure.
It'll take a few years to get back to what it was.
It is going to take some time to get back.
I think if you talk to a mechanical engineer, the shade that they provided helps cut down your energy costs.
Mm-hmm. It is something that I understand. I hear you. We should have given more of a heads up that this was going to happen. It was something we did on a walkthrough with Brightview this week, looking at a couple different areas of things that we needed to do. But we're likely going to be pulling out some of the crepe myrtles up here at the front entrance to the village center as well, that are close to the sidewalk and close to the building, as they're also creating some issues for the structure and for the roof. That'll probably be maybe in January. So I appreciate your feedback. I do. Next question. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I'd like to ask just one thing. Would we have a say in those trees being taken down if it is on our property area?
Well, the place that they were taken down was Rolling Green Village property. We did not take a tree down on somebody else's property, but the residents do feel a shared ownership of the view and looking out the window. So yeah. I think it's difficult to have a resident poll. You know, there's been a lot of sensitivity, particularly around the middle pond, of folks feeling that that the rock doesn't look good. I had a couple ladies I just visited with that said they like it. So there's a lot of there's a varied degree of feedback, and it's hard. I do think overall we're working with Clemson on the landscape architecture team, and with Holly we're being sensitive to the space that we have, and we're trying to improve those spaces. What was the next question?
You mentioned that we have two, or will have two operational small buses.
Correct.
But we also have a large bus.
We would like to eventually get rid of the large bus next year because we continue to run into issues with it. We actually had somebody come out and we asked them to purchase it from us, and he said no thank you. So we feel that we'd like to get to 3 small buses eventually. We did purchase another minivan that the activities team is going to be using, particularly this weekend. So we'll have 2 small buses plus a minivan, and if we need to, as what Amy is doing over the weekend, we're going to be chartering a larger bus until we figure out a different strategy. But we do think that the smaller buses that do not require a commercial driver's license are the way to go as far as the upkeep. And if we need a bigger bus, then we would look at chartering one in the future.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next question.
I haven't heard how much money was raised for the employee Christmas fund.
Yeah, it was an amazing number. I don't remember exactly, but it's in the ballpark of 185,000. So it far exceeded last year. We actually got more than that, but they came in after the deadline. So, you know, we have a certain cutoff before we write the checks. I think it got above 190, but there's a certain date. So HR works with Ed Beck to finalize that date, but there's still some checks that trickle in after that. So I think, you know, give or take between 185 and 190, which is an amazing gift. And again, we talk about that's something that's completely optional. You know, we are called to serve here and care for our residents, and it's not necessary, but it's extremely generous, and it's going to make a lot of our frontline staff Christmas, and that goes to the hourly staff members. It does not go to the department head team, anything like that. So it's a pretty special gift. On the full-time staff, the folks that have worked the full-time hours, it's over $1,000. And then all the other, depending upon how many hours you work in the year, HR has a grid. So if you work 1,000 hours, that would be half of the full-time, then there's a certain amount. And people, so everybody that's here during a certain period of time will get some type of a check. They're not all 1,000, but the folks that work full-time for the whole year would be eligible to get that. So last year I think it was 980-ish, so it's above 1,000. So it's, you know, incrementing a little bit above. We have more residents, we have more staff than last year, but again, it's a very generous offering by you all, and it's really special to see the staff. They really appreciate that. Other questions that folks have? No other questions? I don't want to hold you here. Again, appreciate the opportunity to have you here with us at Rolling Green Village, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hopefully I'll see you all the next couple of weeks. So thank you for your time today.